I still remember the exact moment I decided to pay for my sister's law school. It was 3 years ago, sitting in my work truck after a particularly grueling day of emergency calls. My hands were still grimy despite washing them twice, and I could smell the faint scent of pipe sealant that never quite leaves my clothes. Mila had called me crying she'd gotten into Columbia Law but couldn't afford it. Our parents, both retired teachers, had already mortgaged their house to help with her undergrad. Without hesitation, I told her I'd cover everything. The relief in her voice, the way she kept saying thank you over and over, made every 16-hour day I'd worked feel worth it. See, I'm not your typical success story. I'm Marcus, 32 years old, and I own one of the most successful plumbing companies in Philadelphia. Started as an apprentice at 18 when everyone else was going to college. By 25, I had my master plumber license. By 28, I owned my own company with 12 employees. Last year, we cleared over $2 million in revenue. But to my family, especially to Mila, I was always just the brother who fixed toilets. The arrangement was simple. I'd cover her tuition, books, and living expenses, roughly $70,000 a year. She'd focus on her studies without the burden of loans. It wasn't easy money for me. It meant postponing buying a house, driving the same truck for another few years, and working extra emergency calls on weekends. But Mila was brilliant. She'd graduated summa cum laude from Penn, and watching her chase her dreams felt like the best investment I could make. For 2.5 years, everything seemed perfect. Mila excelled at Columbia, making law review and landing a summer associate position at a top firm. She'd call me after big exams, sharing her victories. I'd attend every event she invited me to, sitting proudly in the audience even when I was the only one there in work boots instead of dress shoes. Our parents beamed with pride, constantly talking about their daughter, the future lawyer. I didn't mind being in her shadow. Her success felt like our success. Then she met James, Dr. James Harrison Wellington III, to be exact. Cardiothoracic surgeon at Mount Sinai, from old money that traced back to the Mayflower. Mila met him at some charity gala her law school hosted. Within 6 months, they were inseparable. I was happy for her at first. She seemed genuinely in love, floating on air whenever she talked about him. I met James a few times, handsome, articulate, the kind of guy who'd never pumped his own gas. He was polite enough to me, though I caught him glancing at my work clothes with barely concealed discomfort. The changes in Mila were subtle at first. She stopped mentioning me in conversations with her law school friends. When I showed up to take her to lunch near campus, still in my work uniform because I'd squeezed it in between jobs, she suggested we eat somewhere more casual, several blocks away. She started making excuses for why I couldn't attend certain events. It's really boring, Marcus. Just lawyers talking about law stuff. But I knew she was embarrassed. November rolled around, and Mom called about Christmas plans. It would be at Mila's new apartment this year, the one I was paying for, ironically. She and James would host, making it special since it was their first holiday together and his family would be joining us. I offered to close my company for 3 days, something I never did, to help with preparations. Mom seemed thrilled. It'll be so nice having everyone together, she said. 2 weeks before Christmas, Mila called. Her voice had that fake cheerfulness that immediately put me on edge. So about Christmas, she started. James's family is very particular about their holiday traditions. They're not really comfortable with mixing social circles too much. I sat in my office, staring at the invoice for her latest tuition payment that I'd just approved. What are you saying, Mila? I think it would be better if you celebrated with Mom and Dad separately this year. Maybe you could see them on Christmas Eve instead? James's family is very traditional, and I don't want any. Awkwardness. The word awkwardness hung in the air like a toxic cloud. I knew exactly what she meant. She didn't want her blue-collar brother around her boyfriend's blue-blood family. After a long pause, I asked her directly, "Are you embarrassed by what I do for a living?" Mila's silence spoke volumes before she stammered. "It's not that simple, Marcus. You wouldn't understand. These people, they're different. They're talking about investments and medical breakthroughs and Supreme Court cases. You'd be uncomfortable." Uncomfortable, I repeated flatly. "Mila, I own a business that employs 12 people. I understand investments pretty well considering I'm investing $70,000 a year in your education." "That's different," she snapped, her mask finally slipping. "You fix toilets, Marcus. James's father is a federal judge. His mother runs a foundation. What would we even talk about? Maybe about how I built a company from nothing? Or how I'm putting you through one of the most expensive law schools in the country. God, you always have to make everything about money," she said, the accusation sharp and unfair. "This is exactly why it wouldn't work. You don't get it. You'd show up in your best clothes that still smell like pipe glue, talking about sewage systems. And I'd have to explain that my brother is a plumber. Do you know how that looks?" I sat there, phone pressed to my ear, feeling something fundamental break inside me. This wasn't just about Christmas dinner. This was about how she saw me not as the brother who sacrificed his own dreams to fund hers, but as an embarrassment to hide from her new social circle. "You're right," I said quietly. "I don't get it. I don't get how you can take my money every month but be ashamed of how I earn it." Mila tried to backtrack, sensing she'd crossed a line. "Marcus, don't be dramatic. I'm not ashamed. I just think this one time, for this one dinner." "It's never just one time," I interrupted. "It started with moving our lunches off campus. Then I couldn't come to your law review celebration. Now I'm not welcome at Christmas. What's next, Mila? Am I going to be excluded from your wedding? Your kids' birthdays?" "You're overreacting," she said, but her voice lacked conviction. "Look, James's family has offered to help with my tuition for the last semester. Maybe it's time we adjusted our arrangement anyway." That hit like a punch to the gut. She was already planning her exit strategy, ready to trade me in for a more socially acceptable benefactor. Is that what you want? I asked. I think it would be healthier for everyone, she replied, trying to sound reasonable. You could focus on your own life instead of always worrying about mine. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. My own life? Mila, I've put my life on hold for 3 years to pay for yours. I've dated exactly twice because I'm working 60-hour weeks to afford your dream. I'm still renting a one-bedroom apartment because your tuition costs more than a mortgage. But sure, let's talk about what's healthier. Nobody asked you to do that, she exploded. You offered. You insisted. Maybe you should examine why you need to play the martyr so badly. That's when I knew we were done. She'd rewritten history in her mind, turning my sacrifice into some kind of psychological dysfunction. I told her I needed to think and hung up. Then I called my accountant and asked him to calculate exactly how much I'd spent on Mila's education so far. The number was $186,000, including undergrad loans I'd paid off for her. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in my apartment looking at old photos on my phone. Mila at her college graduation, hugging me and crying with joy. Mila at her law school acceptance celebration, toasting me with champagne and calling me the best brother in the world. Mila from last Christmas, wearing the expensive watch I'd bought her, laughing at our dad's terrible jokes. When did I become someone to hide? The next morning, I made my decision. I logged into the Columbia payment portal and canceled the upcoming spring semester payment. Then I sent Mila a simple text. I've canceled your tuition payment for next semester. Since James's family is willing to help and you need healthier boundaries, this seems like the right time to make that transition. Good luck. My phone exploded within minutes. Calls, texts, voicemails, all from Mila, each more frantic than the last. I didn't answer. Then my parents started calling. Apparently, Mila had driven to their house in tears, claiming I was trying to destroy her future over a misunderstanding. Mom left a voicemail that broke my heart. Marcus, honey, I don't know what happened, but please don't do this to your sister. It's just one dinner. Family forgives. But Dad's message was different. Son, Mila told us what happened. Your mother doesn't know the whole truth, but I got it out of her. If you're done being her bank, I understand. Don't let anyone, not even us, guilt you into anything. Mila's texts evolved from panic to anger to threats over the course of the day. You're destroying my life over your ego. I'll have to drop out. James's family can't cover this immediately. How can you be so cruel? The last one made me laugh bitterly. Cruel? I was cruel for not financing the education of someone who was ashamed of me? 2 days later, Mila showed up at my company's shop. It was early afternoon, and we had customers in the waiting area. She stormed in wearing what I recognized as her power suit, the one I'd bought her for mock trials. Her face was blotchy from crying, but her eyes were furious. We need to talk, she announced, not caring that everyone was staring. This isn't the place, Mila, I said calmly, very aware of my employees and customers watching. Then you should have answered my calls, she shouted. Do you have any idea what you've done? I have to submit a payment plan by Monday or I can't register for classes. That sounds like a you problem, I replied, keeping my voice level. Maybe James's family can expedite their generous offer. That's when she lost it completely. They offered to help with some expenses, not the entire tuition. You know, I can't get loans this late. You're doing this to punish me because your feelings got hurt. One of my regular customers, Mrs. Chen, who'd been sitting in the waiting area, stood up. She was a tiny woman in her 70s, but her voice carried authority. Excuse me, young lady. Did I hear correctly that your brother has been paying for your law school? Mila seemed taken aback by the interruption. This is a private matter. Not when you're screaming about it in his place of business, Mrs. Chen interrupted. This man has helped my family for 10 years. Fixed my pipes for free when my husband was sick and we couldn't afford it. And you're here yelling at him because he won't pay for your school anymore? Mila's face went red. You don't understand the situation. I understand perfectly, Mrs. Chen said. I heard you just say he's punishing you by not paying your bills. My daughter is a lawyer. Worked 3 jobs to put herself through school. What's your excuse? The confrontation with Mrs. Chen seemed to shock Mila into silence. She looked around the shop, perhaps really seeing it for the first time, the legitimate business I'd built, the employees who respected me, the customers who valued my work. Without another word, she turned and left. But I knew this wasn't over. That evening, Mom called again. This time, she was angry. Marcus, Mila says you humiliated her in front of strangers. She's sobbing. She might have to drop out of law school because of you. Mom, I said tiredly. Did she tell you why I stopped paying? Did she mention that I'm not welcome at Christmas because she's embarrassed by my job? Long pause. She said there was a misunderstanding about the dinner arrangements. I laughed bitterly and told her everything, the exact words Mila had used, the way she'd hidden me from her law school friends, how she'd already lined up James's family to replace me. Mom was quiet for a long time. That doesn't sound like the daughter I raised, she finally said. But her voice was uncertain. Maybe you should ask her why her plumber brother isn't good enough for her boyfriend's family, I suggested. The family drama exploded from there. Dad called Mila and apparently gave her an earful about gratitude and family values. Mila posted a vague but pointed message on social media about family members who use money to control you that got lots of sympathy from her law school friends who didn't know the whole story. Some of my cousins started taking sides. It was a complete mess. James reached out to me directly, which surprised me. He wanted to meet for coffee to clear the air. Against my better judgment, I agreed. James showed up to the coffee shop in scrubs, having come from the hospital. He looked tired and, honestly, embarrassed. Marcus, he started. I want you to know that I never asked Mila to exclude you from Christmas. My family has heard nothing but good things about you from me. I raised an eyebrow. Really? He nodded. When Mila first told me about you paying for her education, I was impressed. My family came from money, yes, but my parents value hard work and generosity above everything. They were actually looking forward to meeting you. So why did Mila? Because she's insecure, James said bluntly. She's created this image of herself that she thinks I expect. The sophisticated lawyer from the perfect family. She's terrified of anything that doesn't fit that narrative. He paused, stirring his coffee. I've tried talking to her about it, but she gets defensive. And you're okay with dating someone who's ashamed of her family? I asked. James sighed. I love Mila, but no, I'm not okay with it. That's why I'm here. I told her if she doesn't fix this with you, we're done. Family is everything to me. I'd never disrespect mine the way she's disrespecting you. This revelation shocked me. You gave her an ultimatum? I did. And she chose to dig in deeper. She's convinced you're being manipulative and that I don't understand the dynamics of your relationship. He shook his head. Marcus, I wanted you to know that whatever happens between Mila and me, you've got my respect. What you've done for her, not many people would do that. 2 weeks later, I heard through Mom that James and Mila had broken up. Mila was now scrambling to find loans, but with the semester starting in days and no cosigner, she was hitting walls everywhere. January came, and Mila didn't return to Columbia. She'd managed to get a deferment for 1 semester while she sorted out finances, but everyone knew what that meant. Her summer associate position was contingent on being enrolled, so that disappeared too. The carefully constructed life she'd built came crashing down in a matter of weeks. She moved back in with our parents, and the atmosphere was toxic. Dad told me she spent most days in her room, sending out resumes for paralegal positions, anything that would help her save money for school. The irony wasn't lost on me. She was now looking for the kind of beneath-her jobs she'd been so ashamed of. Meanwhile, my life improved dramatically. Without the burden of Mila's tuition, I finally bought a house, a beautiful 3-bedroom in a good neighborhood. I started dating Angela, a pediatric nurse who'd been a customer and who loved that I worked with my hands. My business expanded, and I opened a second location. The money I'd been pouring into Mila's education was now going into my own future. 3 months into her deferment, Mila reached out. Her message was formal, almost legal in its language. Marcus, I want to apologize for my behavior. I was wrong to treat you the way I did. I'm hoping we can discuss a possible arrangement for me to resume my studies with your support. I'm willing to sign any agreement you think is fair. I stared at that message for a long time. Part of me wanted to help, she was still my sister. But another part, the part that had been hurt and humiliated, knew that this apology came from desperation, not genuine remorse. I replied, Mila, I accept your apology, but I won't be funding your education anymore. That chapter is closed. I suggest you look into part-time programs where you can work and study, like many people do. It's harder, but not impossible. Good luck. The aftermath was swift and brutal. Mila tried everything, guilt, anger, even showing up at my new house with our parents to stage an intervention. Mom cried, saying I was destroying the family. Dad said nothing but gave me a look that said he understood. Mila presented a business proposal where she'd pay me back with interest once she became a lawyer. I declined it all. You don't understand, Mila said during that last confrontation. Without a law degree from Columbia, I'm nothing. All that work, all those years wasted. You're not nothing, I replied. You're just not better than everyone else. Welcome to how the rest of us live. It's been a year now. Mila eventually enrolled in a part-time law program at a state school, working as a paralegal during the day to pay for it. It'll take her 6 years to finish instead of 1. She's dating someone new, a public defender who apparently doesn't care about her family's social standing. We're cordial now at family events, but the closeness we once had is gone forever. She learned the hard way that real support doesn't come with conditions about social acceptability. Our parents have slowly come to understand what really happened, especially after Mila let slip some comments about their modest retirement lifestyle at Thanksgiving. James, ironically, still sends me Christmas cards. His latest one mentioned he's engaged to a teacher who comes from a working-class family. People who understand the value of hard work, he wrote, make the best partners. As for me, business is booming. I've got 15 employees now and just landed a contract with a city that'll set me up for the next 5 years. Angela and I are engaged, planning a wedding where everyone plumber, lawyer, doctor, or teacher will be equally welcome. My biggest revelation through all of this? The people who truly matter don't care what you do for a living. They care about who you are. And anyone who's embarrassed by honest work isn't worth the investment, financial or emotional. Sometimes Mila texts me pictures of her study materials or updates about her grades. She's doing well, working harder than she ever had to before. I'm proud of her for that. But I'm prouder of myself for finally understanding my worth isn't measured by how much I sacrifice for people who don't value me. It's measured by the life I build, the people I help, and the respect I earn through my own efforts. The funniest part? Last month, one of my employees told me his daughter wants to be a plumber after seeing how successful our company has become. She says college is too expensive and plumbers make bank. He laughed. I thought about Mila, grinding through night school while working full-time, and couldn't help but smile. Maybe her little sister has it figured out. After all, there's more than one path to success, and sometimes the one that gets your hands dirty is the most honest one of all.